Hi guys, welcome to episode 7 of Ask the Trainer. Ready? Shake. Come on, Kuma. Kuma. Kuma's doing so well again today. Right here. Come on, yay! Good boy. Shake. And this one is Juno. This is my dog Juno. For those who don't know her, she's my #1 girl. Aren't you? Are you my pretty girl? Yes. Yes, you're so good. Grizzly. Hi, Bubs. Hi. Yes, hello. So we had a bunch of questions left from yesterday. So we are going to do another round of the Ask the Trainer already today. And I got a bunch of questions asked in my DMs. So we're going to keep answering your questions. If we don't get to it today, we will get to it. Keep DMing me your questions. Are we ready to start? Are we ready? Yes. Yes. Okay. What's the first question?
The first question is from Jenna. And my dog knows not to jump on me because I have been so consistent with down and not giving her attention that she goes straight to sit. But when other guests in the home are out in public, she goes right up to them to jump and they don't know to turn or wait for her to sit. Any tips?
Yeah, so this ends up being a huge issue is other people. So a lot of the times you're doing everything right, and I think I even wrote this like in my book that other people are the hardest part. Like you're out in public, your dog jumps up on them and you're trying to say, off or down, whatever you use. And the other person's like, oh, it's fine, I don't care. And is like petting your dog while you're trying to get the dog down. And it's like, well, I do care. That's why I'm telling her to get down, like I'm trying to train her. So one thing is, don't be afraid to tell people like, oh, we're working on training, don't pet her until she sits right in front of you. So hopefully people ask if they can pet your dog. What you should always do, what is the proper introduction is, if somebody asks you to pet your dog, hopefully they ask, you should first get your dog to check in with you. So it takes that excitement off of that other person. So if another person's like, oh, what a cute dog, and your dog is already getting so excited to get to that person, they're totally away from you mentally, and then the second that they get to that person, they're going to exert all their energy and excitement onto that person by jumping. So if you let your dog know, so say hi to Juno, be like, hi, Claire.
Hi! Hi, Juno!
Say, can I pet your dog?
Can I pet your dog?
Yes, 1 second. Juno, look at me first. Yes, good girl. Okay, go say hi. She was gonna go. Oh, good girl. Like she knows that command. She always knows she has to check in here first, then she's allowed. So you want to first take that excitement away from that other person by shifting the focus to you. Once they basically don't care about that person, that's when you should release them to go and say hi. And then, depending on who the person is, like out in public, you can't really ask people to like train your dog, but so what I would do is hold them on a short leash. Okay, let's go say hi. Automatically tell the dog to sit right in front of that person, and then tell the person like, yes, now you can pet my dog. Or just make sure to tell that person ahead of time, like, yes, but you can't pet her until she's sitting in front of you. And then people are a little bit more, will wait. And I've found, like, a long time ago, I used to be super weird about asking people, like, to, like, help me with the training. But if somebody is wanting to say hello to your dog, they're probably going to wait a couple seconds because they're super excited to pet your dog. So most people, basically, like, every person who asks that, if I say, yeah, just like 1 second, they're totally willing to help you in that sense. So, so recap, make sure your dog checks in with you first, give them a command to go say hi, and then make your dog sit right in front of that person, and then allow that person to pet your dog so that the dog associates, I get attention when I'm sitting. Hi!
Is from Jillian. And says, how do I get my dog to stop barking at other dogs on his walks?
The first thing that you want to do is figure out the cause of the reactivity. Is your dog overly excited? Excuse me. Hi, what are you doing there pawing the treat bag? Kuma, what do you do for a treat? Excuse me. What do you do? What do you do? Yes, Juno. Yes, Kuma. There you go. Good job. Okay, so figure out if your dog is reactive. You know, it's really hard to tell in this kind of instance because I don't know if it's just pure excitement. I don't know if your dog is good with other dogs. What are you doing? Yes. I don't know if he's fearful of other dogs or if there is any aggression. So you have to figure out why your dog is barking at the other dogs. Now, the first thing is what I see when it is pure excitement, like so overly excited, I see a lot of people giving into their dog. They're like, I know that if I just let him go and say hello, he's gonna stop the barking. So you wanna switch that mindset to make your dog think that to get to that other dog, you have to be calm and control yourself. So if your dog's barking and you're like, okay, let's just go and let him get this over with because he'll stop, he's going to know that he gets what he wants when he goes and says, when he barks, he's going to get what he wants to go and say hello to that dog. So same kind of thing that we just talked about, you want to get him to check in with you first and be calm. And once he's not trying to get to that dog, then go and say hello. If it's like fear-based reactivity or like aggression-based reactivity, then you're going to need to go through more extensive processes of desensitization and counter conditioning and being able to read your dog's body language, warning signals, and watching for that. So when your dog's barking, like Juno used to bark going up to the dog park. She'd like make a huge scene walking into the dog park. And so when I worked on training with her, I basically just thought about, okay, what does she want? It's out of pure excitement. So if she isn't controlling herself, I'm going to go backwards of what she wants, then make her sit, lay down, try to control herself. Once she was controlled, we went further. The second she started barking or pulling or losing control, we'd stop again, sit, lay down, stay in that position for like a minute before moving forwards, just to make sure that she was able to control herself completely. This also ensures that when your dog gets up to the dog park or that other dog, that there's a proper introduction and they're not just totally so excited so they have no self-control. It's just really good manners in general, and just to make sure that, you know, there isn't anything that happens when they do meet and it's just overexcitement and loss of self-control. Yeah.
This one is from Alyssa. How did you get into what you do?
So I've always had a natural connection with dogs. I always wanted to be a veterinarian. I studied animal science in college. I worked at a dog daycare and training facility, and I think that's where I learned a lot of my knowledge on dogs. It was super awesome. That's basically where I had like my mentors, where I learned like the base principles of what I still go by today. But majority of my experience I learned when I was fostering dogs. So I adopted Juno, I raised her, trained her, and then I was fostering dogs ever since she was like 4 months old. I started to foster dogs. And I always fostered puppies, and puppies were super easy for me, and I was like in college at the time, so I was just able to like read puppies, develop a routine, so it was super easy for me. And then I just grasped onto the training, and I, you know, shadowed the head trainer at the place that I worked at, so a combination of those two things definitely helped me gain a lot of experience. So to kind of shorten up the story, then I moved to San Diego for an internship at a vet hospital. When I was there, I just decided that the vet route was not for me. And then I just resorted back to what I was most passionate about, and that was fostering, being involved in rescues. And I actually wrote a book at that time too, because all my friends were like graduated college, getting dogs, and they're like, oh my God, I need your help. Like, how were you fostering puppies? How did you raise a dog throughout college? I have this dog now, and he's running my life. So that's when I created my my now book, the Puppy Training Handbook. It wasn't meant to be this big blown up thing. It was just like a guide that I could give people, because I was always giving people advice anywhere I went, my friends, the dog park, dog beach, whatever. And so I put everything I knew on like a comprehensive, just like everything I know on how to raise and train a dog. And it ended up being, now my book now that I wrote, but that was the start of my business. I started doing private training sessions among rescues and just applied everything that I knew. And then I started working with a rescue that had the most like aggressive dogs. They were on the top of the euthanasia list. So it was a lot of bulldogs, pit bulls, mastiffs. And I gained a ton of experience just fostering these dogs and working with them. And all I did was apply the same positive reinforcement tools that I like believed in, and altered it, being able to read each dog, and it just worked with every single dog. So private training sessions just kind of stemmed from there, and it became just a huge thing. Like every single dog was just responding to my my methods, and now here I am. So yeah, that's kind of a short, I know it wasn't that short, but short version of how I got into this. Yeah, so experience has definitely been what has gained me the most knowledge, for sure. Like I studied animal science, got certified, but really experience is just unlike anything else. Like you can study a book. Claire and I, my other dog trainer, were just talking about this. Like you could study my book, but then when you're put into the sessions, you have to adapt everything. You have to be able to read every single dog differently and adapt little things to make the things work for the dog. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, right? Yes, yay.
This one is from Shannon. If your puppy uses the bathroom in the house, how do you go about using positive reinforcement?
So with positive reinforcement, I always say, like, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. You have to tell the dog what they're doing wrong, but you always, always, always have to redirect them to what's right. So I always say, most people, when they tell a dog no, they don't think about, okay, why is the dog doing this? And figuring out what that reason is, and what would I rather have the dog do instead when he feels this way? Having accidents is probably the most straightforward example I could think of redirection. Why is the puppy having accidents? Because he has to go. And what would I rather have him do instead when he feels like he has to go? Because that need to go isn't just going to go away. So no, if you catch him peeing, you tell him no, and don't be afraid to like pick him up in the middle of peeing. He'll stop, and bring him outside to where he is supposed to go. So you can tell a dog no, but you always have to redirect them to what's right. And so with that, with accidents, you have to catch your dog in the act of it. Otherwise, it's going to do no good. So if you find an accident later, it's going to do nothing. So, like never rub your dog's nose in it. It's not going to do anything. Just redirect to where the dog is supposed to go. Even if they've full on emptied their bladder, just take them outside and say, go potty. This is where you're supposed to go. Yeah, that's what you have to do. Oh, and that's it. That's literally it. People think there's more to it. Clean up the spot and then move on. Yeah.
This one is from Brooklyn. What do you think is the most important skill for a dog to learn?
What do you think I'm going to say?
Focus.
Focus is right. Yes, it's what I believe in, my core everything. Every single thing with dogs stems from focus. I always say, if you were to teach your dog one thing, it should be focus. I tell every single one of my clients that, because with focus, you can get the dog to do anything, and you can prevent the dog from doing anything. I think that focus is so overlooked in so many areas of training. And that's what I see as a well-behaved dog, is one whose focus you can grab no matter what. Juno, come. Is that Juno? Juno! June! Juno! Hi, yes. Good girl. Yes, good girl. Why are you crying? Why are you crying? Did you hear someone outside? Yes, so focus is so important. And if you watch my Instagram story right now, Claire and I just talked about a little bit about how to teach focus and prolong focus using the clicker word, which is so important. Yeah, so never overlook focus when you do have your dog's focus. And we've all probably been there, like I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. The second that you go out the door, you usually lose all of your dog's focus. And it's like, what's that smell? What's that? What's that squirrel? What's this? So, and that's how pulling starts. That's how reactivity starts. That's how aggression starts. Like everything stems from just a lack of focus.
Yes, focus. Right? Yes.
Good, Kuma. Good boy. Yes, yes. So yes, focus is the most important thing, for sure. Okay.
This one is from Ash. How do you stop your puppy from eating poop?
Shoot. So, how do you pronounce that again? Copography. I always get it wrong. But I have this in my book, and what I found is that there's two reasons why a dog usually will eat their poop. Number one, they're not getting the right nutrients in their diet. So I would definitely look into what you're feeding your dog and try for something a little bit healthier. That's typically the number one reason why a dog will eat their poop. But the other reason is it can be something that they picked up from their mother. So in the litter, so their moms, it can end up being a behavioral issue. So moms, when they have babies, they clean up everything by like licking off the poop, licking off everything from them. It's gross. So sometimes puppies will pick that up and it will just be a behavior that happens. So either way, what I would definitely do, well, one, try to switch the food if you can, if it's not something really healthy. And then two, use a leave it command with the poop and practice it. And with the leave it, you just want to make sure that you're practicing in the right way so that the dog knows, like, if I leave this, I get something better. So most of the time, especially with like the poop, people will be like, leave it. And I know I just talked about this yesterday. I had this in my stories a couple days ago. And how did you leave it the right way? I just said it in that tone and Juno like went and hid. It's okay. It's okay. So make sure that you're saying it in a positive way. And when I'm saying leave it, I would be like grabbing a treat. Leave it? Yes. Juno? Yes. So definitely practice leave it. I would do leave it with like two treats, two different objects first, so that your dog understands that command, and then apply it outside. Like when your dog is going for the poop, say leave it. He's going to turn and get the treat. And just practice that over and over and over again until the dog gets immune to like leaving that specific item, poop. Yeah. You're not a poop eater, are you? No way. No way, Kumi. All right.
What is the best, this one's from Leah. What's the best way to teach a dog to go to their place?
The best way to teach a dog to go to their place is first to have like a bed, even a towel, just something that they can feel under their feet. It's really hard for them to decipher like a place when you just designate out a place, like a certain place that has the same texture as everywhere else on the floor. So that's step one. Step two is to not lure them all the way to the spot immediately. So a lot of the times what I see is people being like, place. Can you step on that? What is this on? Oh, just another bed. All the way. Kuma's like, what are you trying to get me to do? All the way. Yes, good boy. So eventually you're going to end up doing that, but you want to first start off further away from the place. So I'm going to stand over here. I'm going to tell Kuma, go to your place. Give him a few seconds to let it click. He obviously has no idea what it means. Try a little bit further. And notice the treat is in my right hand right here. If it's still not clicking, then resort to the luring. So just make his brain work a little bit before, yes! Oh, you're so smart, puppy! Before trying, before luring him all the way there. And that's really it, right? Like that's it, that's what we just did today. And it just takes repetition and repetition of that. Go to your place. It's not clicking. I'll try a little bit closer. But the point of this is to let him know, yes! Oh, what a good boy! Yes! Hi! Yes! Good girl, Juno. Yes. You too, Grizzly. Yes, Grizzly. You're doing nothing. And I always say, make sure that you praise your dog when they are sitting there and doing nothing, because that's what you always want from your dog, is for them to literally do nothing. Okay, ready? Go to your place. Yes, June. Yes. Kuma. Kuma's confused. Kuma. Juno, there's no room for Kuma. Juno? Call Juno. Call, say your name.
Juno. Juno, come.
Okay, go. I know, we kind of got messed up there. June? I know, you're doing it right. Yes, both of you. Good job. Sit, Kuma. Yes. So the point of not luring, if you just start out luring a dog, he thinks that place means wherever he's being lured to. So you want to make sure that he knows it's like this mat. That's where he's going to every single time and be consistent. So when you're teaching this, definitely don't mix up where like a place is. Like if you want to use like a bed command and have multiple beds in your house, you should focus on that command being just on one bed. Right. Okay, let's do it one more time. Juno, come. Juno. Juno. Yes, up. Yes. Sit. Yes. Juno, stay. Kuma, go to your place. Give him a few seconds to let it click. He looks like he's kind of thinking. He's like looking back and forth, but if he sits, it means he isn't getting it. Yes! Oh, so smart! And you want to say yes, like the clicker word, right when his feet touch the mat, and then release the treat when he's sitting. Okay, I lied one more time because this is so fun. Oh, you okay? Yes, good girl. Good boy, Grizz. Okay, ready, Kuma? Go to your place. And this one's actually going to be real. I haven't worked with this one with Kuma at all, which is going to be so good because he loves to bark the second that he hears the door open. Yes! Good boy, Kuma. And it just takes repetition, repetition, and repetition for the dog to click and actually go there on his own. Yes, that's how you teach place, right? You love that command, don't you? Hi, princess. Okay, what's next?
Next one is from Shannon. How do you crate train when the owner is home all day too?
When the owner is home all day too, well, you should, is that meaning like that person thinks you only put a dog in the crate when you leave? I mean, that's the easiest time to crate train because you're there, you can develop a schedule. So if that's what you mean by that, you know, you just definitely follow the crate training advice the same as usual. So revolve the dog's day around the crate by feeding the meals in the crate, having the dog sleep in the crate, always giving the dog, you know, like a bully stick, a Himalayan chew, an antler, any type of chewing object in that crate is super important to keep the dog busy. I think the most important thing is to stick to a schedule when you're home still, because I think that's probably where it's getting difficult. If you're home, you're like, oh, when does the dog go in the crate? When not? So stick to that schedule. Feed the breakfast, lunch, and dinner in the crate. Go out and go potty. Then the dog can have freedom. And then after a little bit at lunch, put the dog back in there. So just make sure that you're consistent with a schedule, even when you're home. Because if you don't, your dog is very prone to separation anxiety as well, because if the only time that the dog is going into the crate is when you do leave, then he's going to associate the crate as a bad thing, you know, this place that he goes in when he's all alone.
Awesome. This is our last question from Becky. My little chihuahua girl is really vicious towards new people, especially those that come into the house. She used to be fine with people until we moved in to my mother-in-law's house, and there are constantly different people coming in to visit my mother-in-law. She barks and lunges. She's bitten our friend once, but he does admit it was his fault as he lunged at her. She's almost just very, very scared as she hides behind a seat, then runs out, really vicious barking, and hides again, but still barking uncontrollably. Help? A couple of trainers have been to see and have said that there's no help and we should put her down. I'd rather live off the grid in a tent than have to put her down.
Oh my God. Yeah, you don't have to do either of those things. That's insane. I never can comprehend how a trainer could say like there's no hope for a dog. Like there is always hope. I've dealt with like the most aggressive dogs who wanted to like kill me when I first met them. And we got them to the point where they were able to work through it. So I will never understand that. It's never too late. There's no issue that I think is that can't be, you know, helped. So that's crazy. One thing is that moving definitely can cause, you know, it's just a disruption in that dog's routine. And the biggest disruption that you can ever put on a dog is moving. So I've seen dogs with zero behavioral issues all of a sudden develop just these issues just from a move. So I'm not surprised about that, or like issues escalate from a move. So I'm definitely not surprised about that, but it's all about the way that you introduce the dog. So what I would recommend is having your dog on a leash, or if the crate is a dog's safe place, putting the dog in the crate when somebody gets here. So if it's fear-based, well, anyway, you need to desensitize and counter condition. So your dog should not go up to that person until they don't care about that person at all, until there's no like looking over at that person. And if that means that this person is at your house for 2 hours and your dog is continuously looking over at that person, then the dog shouldn't go and say hello. So there are some of my training sessions, depending on the extent of the issues, that I don't even touch the dog until like, I'm trying to think what was the longest that it's taken. Like the 4th session, I would say, because I will not push a dog past his stress zone. So basically what you should do is keep directing your dog's focus onto you using treats, toys, whatever it takes. Shift that focus off of that person that the dog is afraid of. If you cannot get your dog's focus at all, you're too close to that that scary person, so you need to distance. So a lot of the times, you know, if this is like one of your guests, it's really hard to have your dog here and have your guests like across in the other room, of course. So either put your dog in the crate if that's her safe place, or put your dog in another room. But you never want to just, you know, if she's not okay with somebody like across the room, she's sure as hell not going to be okay with them coming up and trying to pet her or even coming closer. So you want to work to desensitize her at a distance and then slowly work closer and closer and closer. And then you should always allow her to just sniff the person and then come back. But that's going to take a while to get there, you know, just to get to her being able to even go and say hi to the person, because again, you don't want her to go up to that person until she literally doesn't care about the person at all and has full focus and like confidence in you. So that's kind of the basics of that, of how to desensitize and counter condition a dog. Juno. My goodness, Juno's on one tonight. Kuma, hi, did you go outside? So yeah, I would do that, and eventually, you know, once she gains some more self-control, the goal would be to teach her to go to her place and stay, you know, while somebody comes in to control her, and not release her to go say hi until, you know, she has control. But of course, right now, it's going to be way too difficult for her to stay there and not be focused on that person or like running at that person. So yeah, that's what I would do.
Awesome. We do have one more question.
Okay.
How do I work on my dog's barking? She barks at most anything, especially door knocks, noises, etc.
So it just depends if you are okay with like a little bit of a protective instinct, or if you want the barking to diminish completely. So if you want the barking to diminish completely, you have to work through it and just like set up situations where you know the barking, or yeah, when you know like the knocking or whatever is causing the dog to bark is going to happen. So I just did this last night. At one of my sessions, we had the dog on a leash, and I had my intern go outside and knock on the door. We knew it was coming, so ahead of time, we were like, Hank, focus up here. Hi, right here. Hi, yes, Juno, yes. Knocking happens. Hi, look at me, yes, good girl. To try to prevent the barking as much as you can. And then immediately we directed him up to his crate or his little safe spot. So that's what you can kind of do to totally prevent the dog. You just want to use whatever you can to shift the focus off of the door knocking. If you're okay with like a couple barks or a bark with a protective instinct, and then you just want them to stop once you say like, okay, that's enough, what you can do is look. Oh my God, you freaking diva. What's your deal, June? So if you only want a couple barks, like, and you want to just redirect that excessive barking, what I would do is, you know, somebody knocks on the door, your dog is going to go and bark after, like, you know, that one bark that you want the dog to stop. I would say, like, Juno, over here, redirect her to go to her place. What I always tell my clients is, like, that first time that you that you're calling her and she ends up going to her place is not going to be because she's listening to you. It's going to be because she's done barking. So don't feel discouraged if you're like, Juno, and she just keeps barking. That's her natural instinct. Then just follow through with that go to your place thing and keep doing that. And the amount of time that it takes her to respond to you is going to keep getting shorter and shorter and shorter, and it's going to resolve from the back end. So instead of her not barking initially, she's just going, you know, if she barks, let's say she always does 10 barks, it's going to be 9 barks, and then she'll listen, then 8 barks, then she'll listen. Obviously not that precisely, of course, but it's going to keep getting shorter and shorter until you're at like just that 2 barks, and then you want to direct her here, and you also want to use a stay to keep her mind from shifting back and forth. But just be persistent with that. You know, not every command with that is going to go perfectly. There's going to be sometimes you tell her to go here and stay. She's going to break that and try to run to the door. So just try keeping her focus with you and on here and with the stay as much as you can, and just be consistent about it, and it will end up clicking. It's not just teaching a command, it's teaching like commands as well as breaking a natural instinct, you know, so it just takes time to shift that. So don't give up, but look at you, they're so tired. Thank you guys so much for all your questions and tuning in. Be sure to DM me any other questions that you have for next week. All right, bye guys.